Join us at the Lexington Comic and Toy Convention, March 23rd through 26th. We'll be at booths 1113 and 1114, decked out in cosplay, selling the latest Angel of Death merch. Tickets are available via the link in the description. Hope to see you there.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of The Composition of Imagination. I'm your host and author, Stevie Jo. These are my fabulous book guardians, Tasha and Jason. And this month, all March long, if you've caught the last two videos of this week, then you know we're doing an Angel of Death celebration because it is the anniversary, the publication anniversary in the beginning. So I have let them take the reins, and this whole week, actually, for the next few days too, we're going to be talking about the origin of Angel of Death, and they are taking the reins, asking me questions. Almost nothing is off limits, just depends on how much of a spoiler it is. So we'll just go ahead and dive right back into it.
When we do these cons, because we are having one coming up here soon, and we did our first one, a year ago?
It's a year ago this month. Yeah.
I mean, so much stuff has happened.
Oh my God, yes.
And I feel like we've exploded.
A lot of appearances. And
yeah. How much fun is it for you to interact and do these cons and appearances and stuff that, we get to do them with you, but yeah. I absolutely love and adore them because it's fun. But how do you feel about it? Like, how much fun is it for you to get out there and see people fangirl out? Because we've had some.
We've had some people.
We've had some people are like, oh
yeah, they're like, oh my God, that's you?
Yeah.
No, it is really fun. Like, I enjoy being kind of a minor celebrity, and I mean like minor.
Like F celebrities right now.
Like, it's mainly just like TikTok and Facebook that is doing it. But I'll tell you what, our views on Facebook have exploded for some reason. So thank you guys, by the way.
So appreciate it.
But I've always loved Comic-Cons, and I never really went to any when we lived in Florida because they just seemed like, I don't know, like I could never afford to or whatever.
Yeah.
But moving up here, having this one right in our backyard, so many actually right in our backyard.
Yeah.
It's so much fun, and I adore getting out there and talking about my books, which is why we do this show, because I'm so passionate about Angel of Death, and it's had such an impact on just me as a person that sharing it with everybody else is really fun. You know, you get that when you really like something, everybody knows, because when you talk about it, you just kind of have that glow, and I can feel it in myself whenever I'm at the con. It's like, all right, this was a little stressful to get put together and set up and do everything, but now we're here, and this is a blast.
Okay, so now let's switch gears a little bit back to the book. When you were creating your writing style for how each book played out, did you have it already in your mind that in a way you were going to set it up as in pacing with almost an episodic style to it? Because if you look at it, it almost looks like each book could be broken up into like a mini-series.
Yeah. Actually, no. It was originally just going to be a trilogy, and I was going to call it a day on that and move on to the next topic. But I started thinking about these characters and the things I wanted to put them through, because let's face it, they don't get to go through it. I put them through it. And I just thought, this is too big to be put in. I'm not writing War and Peace. You know what I mean? It's more intimidating to pick up a book that's this big than it is to pick up 22 books that are all this big each. You know what I mean? So, and plus as I thought about it more, I have several series on my bookshelves, and I love reading series because if I really get engrossed in the story, I really want to keep going, and I get very sad when it ends. And I'll tell you what, whenever I have to go in, because I'll go in every now and again to edit, if I change the formatting of my book, I'll just go ahead in one swoop and do it for all of them, even the ones that aren't written yet. That way the format is already set up, and when I get to it, all I have to do is write.
Yeah, because I remember you told me that one time that I don't know if it was a conversation we were having about an earlier book, and it got you thinking. You literally had to swap one part to another part and move things around.
They very much are all symbiotic of each other. Like, I cannot change just one thing in one book. I have to change all the things in all the books. So every time I get to 22, even if I'm literally just changing, like, maybe some copyright information or something, I get really sad. Because that's the end. And I love, but that's what I want for the reader too.
It's like you hear the John Williams theme for Star Wars. The last time, this is the last time you're going to see this in theater.
I always think about Billy Boyd singing The Last Goodbye at the end of the Battle of Five Armies. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. So that's kind of.
Oh, it's not.
It was not originally the 22 series. It was just a book of 3, and I was going to try to cram that whole story into 3 books.
I'm glad you expanded it out.
Yeah,
that would have been a hot mess.
I thought the thing was, I was getting in my own way, because I thought to myself, before I expanded it, I was like, all right, as a first-time published author, as an indie author, do I really have what it takes to write a 22-book series? Like, isn't that something more experienced authors do? But then I thought, fuck that. I'm me. I can do this. Only I know what's best for these characters. Nobody else can tell me what's best for them. So if I feel like it needs to go to 22 books, it's going to go to 22 books. And that was kind of my decision process. So it was important to me to be able to have it paced in a way that was easy to follow, or easier to follow, and in a way that was still engaging while not inundating you with a ton of information. Could you imagine just having like 8 chapters in a row all about heaven, and then finally going to earth, and then coming back to heaven, and it's like 600 pages long? Like, that would not work out well.
That would be the most epic of epic audiobooks. And I really don't see you finishing
that. God, I could never sit down and record that much.
That's the thing, though. The way you did the pacing on it, it is very episodic.
Yeah.
To where, like, if you were to translate it into other mediums, you could see it. Oh, well, in the beginning, episode 1.
Yeah.
You go through, get through that one, and then go to the second book, and you see. And there's just enough time passed that you wouldn't have to change much to be able to go, okay, now I know where I'm at.
Yeah.
And that's so far, especially like up through book 4, it seems like it has fallen into that to a certain degree.
And I am very open to adapting these books to other mediums, by the way. But in line with that, it was always my goal to make sure that the reader could follow easily. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want you to have to be like, and that was part of the thing with my publication schedule. I'm like, I also don't want you to forget between publishing each book. So that's why I keep the time very short, and I like the idea of it being episodic like that, because it's easier to digest. It's easier to follow. It keeps you engaged.
When you say easier to digest, I mean, you don't have that much in the way of time jump, but the stuff you do have in those periods is very informative.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you do actually digest a lot of stuff, but the pace of it is such that you just kind of flow right through it.
Yeah.
You don't have any parts where you might want to, it kind of clunks to a stop.
And it's very, I purposefully designed it thinking about how, like, my husband loves, one of his favorite things to watch in a movie is when it all takes place in one day. That's why Clerks is like his favorite movie, because it takes place all in one day. So I kept that in mind, because I thought, you know what, that's a really valid point. So all of these books take place in just the span of a couple days. Book 5 is all in one day. So it's a very short time period that you're following these people, but it has a lasting impact. And I will tell you this, The biggest jump in time that we make is between In the Beginning and False Idols with that year. Everything from 2 through 22 happens before the end of the year of that second. So it's all just a few months. Like, you'll start to see it come together, where it's just a few months passing.
But that's the beauty of the books, is you show it. It's sort of like 24.
Yeah.
You think, oh, we have 24 hours to get something done, and you look, and guess what? You have all these things going on at the same time in that period of time, and that's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah.
Like you said, 2 through 22 is basically covering 6 months.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
What about your novellas? What made you want to write the novellas that you'll be?
Because
another good one.
The story is still too big for the 22. Honestly, it's also...
She is such a fan of Lord of the Rings and all things that she's got to have the main books, novellas, and then musings down here.
I really, because I thought, I'm talking about all this, like, the Great Extermination, the Dawn of Time, and I'm introducing you to these elements that, while they're kind of common things in fantasy sci-fi, like, you know, werewolves and angels and all that, it's common, but my way of telling it is so different that I really felt like, as the reader, you deserve to know where all this came from. Not just, like, in my head, but, like, the origin of these characters, because I personally enjoy that. I like seeing a good origin story. And so that's why I was like, these novellas, there's 2 novella trilogies that I'm going to be releasing. It's the Lycan trilogy, which dictates how the Lycans came to be what they are now, and what happened before the founding of Murrlands and Murr County and the Great Extermination and all that. So that's what it kind of touches on. And you also get to see some very important characters from Angel of Death as they were back then. Because remember, longevity is the name of the game with these creatures. And then the other novella trilogy is going to be called the Dawn of Time trilogy. And that's about the creation of heaven and everything else. And we will follow it from the beginning of heaven all the way through the fall from grace. So that's what that covers. And I felt like that would be really fun for readers because of the origin of some of your favorite or least favorite characters. You will find out in the Dawn of Time trilogy who Ezra really was and what the hell he did to get cursed, as he calls it, to a sanguine
He wasn't
life.
cursed, it was punished. There's a difference.
He calls it a curse.
Of course he calls it a curse, but any woman turns him down, he considers that a curse.
So you get to find how all that begins, and I thought, why would I just keep that in my head? Like, I feel like this needs to be written down and needs to be a story told. So they are going to be released at pivotal times because I don't want any spoilers to impact your reading, but they will be released.
With the novellas, because obviously you could take some of those ideas and sprinkle them in. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, and you've already touched on, you know, the longevity portion of creatures, and with Ezra and Elias. But that being said, are you going to also show the interactions between, let's say, the Dark Angels, the Angels of Wisdom, and the Earth creatures?
Like in the novellas?
In the novellas. Like, at some point, all these characters know this area for some reason.
Mm-hmm. And in those novellas, you will find out how and what it means to them and how everybody got, I guess you can call it, placed where they are. Because when we pick up in the beginning, you're in the middle of life, and that's just how it is. There's no origin to anything. And so these will show you, oh, this is how Skylar got to where she is. And this is how, you know, Ezra figured out how to go to Merlance or whatever. And
yeah, because the way you initially describe it is like, you know, he was a bum and just kind of just rolled in. You know, he walked in.
Yeah.
And his attitude, especially by the time you get to book 4, is he's known about this place and has been here for a long time before even the Jerichos had been around.
Yeah. So you will get to learn that in the novellas, both of them, because they're very much everything in the Angel of Death series. It can't, you know, X couldn't happen without Y, and so on, because of how intertwined everything is. And you will get to see just how you'll get hints of it in the actual Angel of Death books. So it's not like if you don't read the novellas, it's going to be, you're not going to know what's going on. It's just that you'll know all the details if you read the novellas when they come out. But I will be sprinkling some of those clues in and giving just very, very vague backstories as we go
in a
along.
way, you would have to, just as a story point.
Yeah, because it's all pivotal to how everybody behaves. So, well, that does it for this episode of The Composition of Imagination, the origins of Angel of Death. So tune in tomorrow. We're going to have a couple more videos this week talking more about the origin, and we will just keep chugging along in our celebration of Angel of Death. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Catch up on the Angel of Death series today. The first 4 entries are now available directly at StevieJoAuthor.com.